The Scarlet Witch has been a part of Avengers stories much more than she was a part of mutant-related stories. Quicksilver, on the other hand, has had more activity within the X books. Them being twins makes them inseparable if a change in their parents is made. It has been definitively established many years ago that Magneto was their dad, with the initial reveal being reinforced numerous times over the years, as well as the status of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver being mutants also being reinforced. But after Quicksilver ended up being used in Avengers and the X-Men films, it was time to do something about the twins being mutants. It was then revealed that the High Evolutionary had actually messed with their genetics, something which had been established in the past, and that they never had X genes. This completely contradicts past established events, including the then relatively recent Avengers vs. X-Men event when Hope Summers used her mutant powers to mimic mutant abilities of others to join with the Scarlet Witch to defeat the Phoenix Force by saying no more Phoenix. Now that Disney owns Fox and the rights to the X-Men and mutants in general, they could go back and re-retcon Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver as mutants again, and all that it would really do is create another lie that the High Evolutionary told, having a number of other retcons that have happened in the past being related to lies he has told. Which have been a lot. Batman has many iconic villains. All of them stick out in their own individual ways, but there is a strong case to say that Mr. Freeze may actually be one of the most iconic. It may be due to his appearance in the Batman cartoons, because in the animated series, Mr. Freeze was given an incredibly understandable motive to commit crime than a lot of other Batman villains get, saving the life of his wife. His wife was dying of a disease, and he is keeping her frozen until he can find a cure, committing crimes to aid his research. It's so understandable that while Batman still attempts to stop Freeze, he finds himself empathizing with the villain in a way that he doesn't with a lot of his other villains. So it came as a shock to a lot of people when the New 52 came about and Scott Snyder retconned the continuity so that Mr. Freeze's beloved Nora Freeze became Nora Fields, and Mr. Freeze had actually never even met her while she was alive. This made Mr. Freeze into just another madman, but one obsessed with a random woman kept on ice at Wayne Enterprises. As you can imagine, people were not very happy about this one. In Marvel Comics, the Infinity Stones used to be these awesome, powerful artifacts representing the sum total of all the fundamental forces of the universe, or the multiverse at one point, and were the ultimate secret that Thanos uncovered while gazing into the Infinity Well. They came from before recorded time as part of a being of limitless power that existed before everything else that then destroyed itself to create the universe. You collect these stones and boom, you're super omnipotently powerful. But in the 2018-2019 series Infinity Wars, it was revealed that actually, no. In what I would say is the climax of the series, Loki uses an assembled set of Infinity Stones to transport himself to the unknown realm that existed beneath the Quarry of Creation, where he found a group of Celestials that guarded the deposit of Infinity Stones. Basically, with this retcon, the Infinity Stones are mined by these Celestials, and that this place contains countless Infinity Stones which get sent to other universes by the Celestials. It's just kind of dumb if you ask me. It makes the stones appear so much less important or powerful. On the charts of cosmic entities, the Celestials are actually pretty low in the ladder, and they're the ones who are responsible for the stones? Kinda boring. I don't like it. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. When looking at characters with tons and tons of retcons, Marvel's Wolverine easily tops the charts. His retcons have retcons. One of the most hated of these retcons is the Lupine. In Jeff Loeb and Simone Bianchi's Wolverine number 50 from 2007, Wolverine started having dreams of a mysterious figure known as Romulus. Romulus was thousands of years old and had been manipulating Wolverine before he was born. Cool. That's fine. What was less fine was when Romulus made it appear as though Wolverine was not a mutant at all, but was actually a completely different species of sapien called the Lupine sapien. Men evolved from wolves. Now, the actual idea of this could be seen as kind of cool, but to make Wolverine himself into one of the Lupine sapiens was kind of dumb and super problematic, as it conflicted with a lot of established lore, especially Wolverine's origins when his mutant power activated in the traumatic event of his not father's shooting. Sabretooth as a Lupine, or Romulus himself as a Lupine, all those other feral looking characters in Marvel, sure, that could be actually pretty cool, but not Wolverine, man. Like I said, his retcons have retcons, and this one was pretty quickly undone by Remus revealing that it was all a lie and that Romulus was trying to create the Lupine instead, which I don't know if that's better, but there you go. Now look, there is no way to do a list like this and not talk about sins past. There is no silver lining here, there's no positive here. There's only gross, stupid, and confusing here. Basically, two twin assassins show up in New York on the trail of Spider-Man, and to cut a sucky story short, these twins were actually the secret children of Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn. Apparently the reason that Goblin threw Gwen Stacy off of a bridge all the way back in the day was not because he wanted to mess with Peter Parker. It was actually because he wanted to hide the fact that Gwen had recently given birth to Norman's little baby twins and was threatening to not let Norman see them again. And of course, Gwen is forced to go through with it, which I'll remind you, she showed no signs of being pregnant at all, and she gives birth to twins. It's weird. Also, because of Norman's irradiated genetics, these twins age really quickly and develop Green Goblin abilities. Basically, Marvel decided that ruining the image and importance of Gwen Stacy and her passing was worth it to create an extremely overcomplicated arc that goes nowhere and adds nothing but ickiness to the Spider-Man continuity. I can never look at Norman's face without seeing that face, and you know what I'm talking about. Luckily, this was retconned as well, so. When it comes to DC Comics, there are far too many retcons to speak about that fans hated. A lot of disliked retcons came about during their huge reboot known as the New 52, which rewrote a lot of origins. One hero whose origin got rewritten to suck was Wonder Woman. First of all, the New 52 changed the Amazons from being benevolent isolationists to more aggressive xenophobes. That's no bueno. Then it was revealed that Wonder Woman herself is now the daughter of Zeus. Now, while you could argue that this is an interesting take, it just pulls a lot away from the character, and DC didn't even do anything with it. Originally, Diana didn't have any men involved in her origin, except for the god Hermes, who was one of her patrons, and of course Steve Trevor. The New 52 Diana explicitly derives her power from and owes her existence to a man, rather than being from blessings from largely goddesses. And on top of that, if you look at Greek mythology, it's a man who's pretty awful to women. Zeus slept around a lot, man. Like a lot. But it just didn't serve any constructive purpose, which kinda sucks. Avengers Disassembled and House of M are arguably some of the worst things a superhero has ever done. But for Scarlet Witch, the one who did it all, it was the result of years and years of trauma for the character that reached ahead and pushed her to wipe out her fellow Avengers and depower the vast majority of an entire race of people after changing reality itself. However, Marvel didn't want to actually make Wanda responsible for what she did. That would make her too human and fallible, and they also couldn't use her for a vast majority of stories since everyone basically saw her as a villain now. So, Avengers the Children's Crusade retconned the whole thing. Instead of making Scarlet Witch's breakdown the fault of her years of trauma, it was changed to explain that, working with Dr. Doom, she channeled the life force to try and reincarnate her children. Power of the life force coursing through her drove her crazy, and that's why she had a breakdown. It's just kinda such a cop-out. I don't like it. Next up, the Punisher has always been an incredibly controversial character for Marvel Comics, and that's never been surprising. His MO is extremely bloodthirsty, and his comics have some of the most brutal imagery in all of Marvel. The Punisher's instantly identifiable skull symbol in recent years has also been adopted by some misguided members of law enforcement, and also appropriated by certain political groups, which is a topic I'd like to avoid as much as possible. That's almost certainly one of the big reasons why he's been sidelined by Marvel the past couple of years, but more recently, the Punisher series established a new status quo where Frank Castle is now an enforcer of the hand, and with that came a big change to his symbol, shifting from his classic skull to the image of an Oni. And while that annoyed people who had adopted this symbol, the first issue of the story also revealed that one of the reasons he had shifted to become a warlord of the hand was because they had resurrected his wife, Maria. Now eventually, it was also revealed that Frank Castle's family wasn't as happy as some might have thought, with Maria almost taking his life now, and later admitting that she wanted a divorce from him the day of her passing, and that his entire crusade on crime was basically disrespecting her and their children, not honoring them like he thought. Basically, Marvel made it clear that Frank is not a good guy, but most of us kind of already knew that. Identity Crisis was a really engaging mystery story that paid great close attention to comic book history, but unfortunately, it's another one of DC's strange retconning events that changed quite a few things that left readers completely flabbergasted. From the super unnecessary use of Dr. Light's attack on Sue Dibney, which was just another example of fridging, to the Justice League approved mind wipes that seemed kind of evil in the grand scheme of things, there were just some interesting choices made here. Sure, wiping Dr. Light's Scarlet's mind and turning him into essentially an idiot for what he did maybe seemed darkly justified, but wiping Batman's memory as well? It eventually caused Bruce to create the Brother MK1 satellite, which eventually became Brother I, and created the OMAX. Catwoman also suspected that her personality shift from villain to basically a hero might not have been her own choice, and it caused the villain community to band together over the fear of being mind-wiped, leading Lex Luthor to create the Society, and it even caused the falling apart of the Justice League eventually. It's just not a good time. The words "one more day" and hated retcons go hand in hand. J. Michael Straczynski's run of Amazing Spider-Man is looked at as one of the best in the wall crawler's history. That run ends after Marvel Comics' Civil War, when Aunt May is wounded by an assassin hired by Wilson Fisk to take out Peter Parker. This results in Peter doing everything he can possibly think of to find a way to help her. In the end, it was actually a deal Mary Jane Watson made with Mephisto that saved Aunt May. That agreement ended the marriage between MJ and Peter Parker and destroyed over 2 decades of continuity. The most important part of that was his life with MJ. Not being married to Mary Jane Watson ruined one of the best relationships in comic books and caused ripples throughout Marvel Comics. None of the stories that came after depended on Spider-Man being unmarried, and he's had no memorable relationships that make the idea of an unmarried Spider-Man worthwhile. It actually did a lot more harm than good, turning away many longtime readers of Spider-Man in one go. Spider-Man fans wish this story never happened, and I don't blame them. But with that, my name is Adam Andrews. As always, I'll catch you guys on the flippy flop. Stay safe, keep positive. Peace out, you nerds!